Hey there, it's JG talking about Eternal Evolution, and tonight I wanted to talk a little bit about early game evolution strategy and hero development strategy in the game. More or less answer this question of how many heroes to build at once. Should you focus on just one or two heroes and evolve them to the max, or should you evolve anyone anytime an evolution is available? I think I came up with a pretty good answer to this, and so I'll talk with a combination of math and strategy, what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. So first up, I just want to cover my general strategy for a hero collector style game. Overall, I think most of these games in the early game, you're going to be best served by depth over breadth, by which I mean take a small number of heroes or champions or whatever it is in this game and take them to as high of a level as you can, and having a few people highly advanced will help you bring along the rest of your team and help you advance through more content. So in most of these games, the benefits from evolving or whatever the mechanic is are pretty substantial. Whereas the differences between heroes, whether they're the perfect hero for something they do, is usually somewhat less substantial. And so although every hero might not be ideal in Disa Caves versus Story versus Elite Campaign or other things like that, generally the difference in their individual kits is small relative to the big change in things like base stats, attack, defense, and HP. Those change by enough with evolution that just picking something and sticking with it and getting it to a high evolution level is going to give you total power that's higher, and that total power will serve you well in most content and be able to carry the rest of your party along. And so as you have some people highly developed, you'll be able to hit through higher levels of these things and get higher level rewards. So you're picking up more experience, more gems, more equipment, higher level equipment, these things that are going to help you develop the rest of your box. So I think that's very applicable in this game as well. The question, some games, the answer is invest in one person. And once you get one person maxed, they can just hard carry everyone else through easier content. In some games, it's more like, build one full party. That would be 5 in this game. So what's the answer, in Eternal Evolution specifically? And in this game, I think it's somewhat contingent on this evolution chart. This evolution chart gives us some basic math that influences the supply and demand for food in this game. So to evolve your champion, you need either a duplicate of that hero or you need a food hero at some level of evolution. So to go from elite to epic, you need 1 dupe and 1 elite 0 food. From epic to mythic, you need 1 elite food, 1 epic 0 food, and 1 dupe. Mythic to legendary takes 2 dupes, 2 epic food. Legendary to immortal takes 3 dupes and 2 epic food. When I say food here, it can be pretty much any hero, except the mechanic here is it has to be from the same faction. So this helps us get at the question of how many heroes can we focus on at once. And we can imagine 2 extremes. You need both dupes and food in order to highly evolve a hero. If you focus on just one hero at a time, what you're going to do is you're going to be able to use those dupes as soon as you find them, but you're going to have an excess of food. You're going to have a bunch of food piling up that no one's eating because you don't yet have another dupe of the hero that you're trying to advance. And so dupes are the thing that are stopping you from progressing. In particular, in this game, if it's just one hero, you're going to have the food in the other factions piling up because no one is going to be using those. At the other extreme is if you're working on everyone all at once, you're going to be chewing through that food as soon as it shows up. And then you're going to have dupes that are sitting on the shelf that you're not able to use the dupes yet because all of your heroes are waiting for a food-based evolution. And so you want to find that sweet spot in the middle where you pretty much you're able to use your dupes as soon as you find them, but you're not just sitting on an enormous amount of food that you don't need. So in trying to figure out what would be the sweet spot, I went to recruitment cards. I think that's one of the biggest sources of heroes in the game, although certainly you get a fair number of shards from events and other places in the game that give you additional things. So let's look at Advanced Recruitment as an example. When you pull Advanced Recruitment, you have a 42% chance of getting a common hero. 53% of the time, it's a rare hero. 0.4% chance each for the 5 heroes that are on your wish list. So 2% chance total for one of those 5. A 1.2% chance of getting a rare hero that is at Elite 0. So they come out as Elite, they're ready to be Elite food, but the tier of the hero is only rare. And then a 1.8% chance of any other Elite in the game. Currently it's all the Elites that aren't triple S are in there, and there's one triple S that is, although at somewhat varying probabilities. So let's go through what value you get from each of these segments here. So first, let's look at the 42% common heroes. Common heroes aren't super useful on their own, but they do still give us some resources. So every common hero you get, you throw it away and get 100 dismissal coins for it. 900 dismissal coins in the dismissal shop can give you a random rare. Also, you could pay 1,800 to get a rare in a specific faction. Don't do that. The 2-to-1 ratio is just not worth the difference there. So this gives us a ratio of 9 common heroes, gives us 1 rare hero. I'm looking at the next line. The 53% rare heroes, similarly, we want to convert those up into Elite food. So the rare evolution chart is that 3 of the same rare at rare 0 gives you rare 1, and then 3 rare 1s, 1 rare 1 plus 2 rare 1 food from the same faction gives you an Elite 0 for that hero. Incidentally, that first level, 3 of the same rare, that's what the Quick Evolve button does. There's never a reason not to do that. That's the only thing you can do with a rare 0 hero, unless for some reason you want to put them in your party. The second line is what the Intelligent Evolution does. That's the one where you might want to make a slightly different decision. Really, the only reason to make a different decision is because when you're taking Elite to Epic food, you need a matching pair. You need a dupe somewhere in there. Intelligent Evolution, I think, tends to prioritize that. So I think it always does the right thing as well. I never deny Quick Evolve or Intelligent Evolve when it come up. But that gives us the same ratio here. 9 rare heroes can turn into 1 Elite 0 food. So let's look at Advanced Recruitment and imagine, let's say you have 1,000 Advanced Recruitment cards and you pull all of them. What do you expect to come out with? Well, 420 common heroes, 530 rares, 4 each of those wishlist heroes. As you get into the smaller number here, of course, you're not going to get exactly these values, but this is the average return that you expect. You're going to get 12 rare level heroes that are at Elite 0, so basically Elite 0 food, 18 other random elites, and 1,000 advanced data chips. Those data chips are also pretty important to your overall haul here. So turning this into how much total food do you get? Let's look. 420 common heroes, that becomes 47 rare heroes. 9 to 1, you get 47 rares out. So then you've got effectively 577 rare heroes, and that turns into 64 Elite 0 food. So the 1,000 data chips, every 85 of those lets you buy an Elite hero of your choice from the chip shop. Not all of them are available in each chip shop, but this is basically another chance to get 12 Elite heroes of your choice that you can really target towards the heroes that you're trying to advance. So if you add all this up, what you get from 1,000 pulls is 76 Elite 0 food, 6.4 on average of each of those wishlist heroes. That's assuming that with those chips, you're trying to buy wishlist heroes. And then 18 random elites. So referring back to the Evo chart again. So what do we need? How much food is that relative to what we need? Well, looking at this top line, we know we need to produce some epic food. So going from Elite 0 to epic takes 3 Elite Zeros total. It takes one matching pair of Elite Zeros, an Elite and a dupe of itself, and then 1 Elite 0 food, anything from the same faction. So the ratio there, for common and rare, it was 9 to 1. For Elite to epic, it's 3 to 1. And so, counting each of these epic foods that we need later as 3 Elite Zeros, that means to get something from Elite 0 up to Immortal 0, takes 7 dupes, so 7 in addition to the initial 1 that you have, plus 17 food at Elite 0, some of which gets turned up into epic food. And so counting the initial one you need as well, that means overall it's 25 input Elite 0 heroes to get 1 Immortal 0 hero. And so that 25 to 1 ratio is one of the things that I keep in mind when I'm thinking about how many heroes can I afford to be evolving at any given time. So if we look back at the 1,000 pull result, and compare that to the need, let's say we want to evolve all 5 of those wish list heroes. So what we're getting is 76 Elite 0 food, 6.4 of those wish list heroes, and some other random elites. What we need is 85 Elite 0 food and 7 of each of those wish list heroes. So we're pretty darn close to that here. If we decide we want to eat 9 of those random elites, we've got enough Elite 0 food. And if we get a little bit extra lucky on finding some of these wishlist heroes in other locations, then we've got basically what we need here. So more or less, the ratio of things coming out of Advanced Recruitment can support about 5 things that you're focused on at any given time. Now that said, not everything is Advanced Recruitment. So Basic Recruitment is also something you'll be doing. It's pretty close to the same ratio, fewer total rares and more commons, so a little bit less of that overall. The chip shop options are still there and still cost 85 each, but the options are a little different. Hopefully it's still something that you want to get. I think there's some decent ones in there. There's no wish list for this, so it means getting the dupes of the heroes you want to level up is harder. So it's you get sort of more food and fewer dupes if you're doing Basic Recruitment. Limited Recruitment, on the other hand, is the exact opposite. So in Limited Recruitment, if you did 1,000 pulls in Limited Recruitment all at the same time, which I really don't recommend you do, you'd be getting 50 total elites among only 3 possible options. So on average, something like 15 or more of each one. That's going to be enough not just to take him to Immortal 0, but to Immortal 4 or so. It's probably more than you want of each of those. So you can get a lot more dupes out of that system. You also can get triple S elites out of that. That's one of the big reasons to pull in Limited Recruitment. Additionally, the chips in this case, 80 chips can get you a gene hybrid. Gene hybrids effectively are a wild card dupe for any triple S hero. That's a very nice thing to get. So chips in all of these cases are good for purchasing dupes. In addition, there are ways of getting heroes that aren't even recruitment at all. And so part of your overall hero and food income is going to include the shards that you get from daily missions and from Soul Mine and from Disa Caves and event rewards handing these out, these various places that give you shards. I think you pick them up in the Wasteland sometimes as well. In Elite Campaign, you can pick where you want to spend your extra sort of sweep runs. You can target them at a specific shard for a hero that you're hunting. Occasionally you get these selectable recruitment cards where you get to pick someone specifically. And so it's tough for me to come up with an overall ratio of all the sources of heroes that you get, but we can do the math pretty straightforwardly on each type of recruitment. Additionally, you might be spending money on the game. If you're spending money on the game, then that's going to throw your ratio out of alignment compared to other people based on how much you spend and which particular things that you buy. And so knowing that it's hard to come up with a perfect value, the number that I thought made a lot of sense is pick 6 heroes to focus on. And of that, you want 2 from each faction, because the food is going to be rolling in evenly distributed across the factions, especially in the early game. Getting your first set of things to Immortal 0 is really going to help you bring along the rest of your game. Of that 6, it's 5 regular elites. I know we'd love to be invested in triple S elites all the time, but the problem is you don't get enough triple S, you don't get enough gene hybrids that you can focus on 6 triple S at the same time. Then you're going to have that problem of dupes are the thing you're hunting, and you've got way too much food. So 5 regular elites and 1 triple S elite on my list at any given time, and then 2 from each faction. Of that, if you're in the very early game, I think you want to pick a pretty decent spread. You want a tank in there, you want a DPS, you want an AoE, a healer. Pick a pretty decent spread of different types that can make a pretty good matched party. So my rules for the 6 heroes that I'm focused on, the 5 regular elite heroes, they're my wish list heroes in Advanced Recruitment. And anywhere where you get to pick a hero, you pick from that list if possible. So that's if you have chips to spend in the recruitment store, if you have a selection card where you get to pick one specifically, if you're farming for shards in Elite Campaign, any of those places, pick from your list. If you get gene hybrids, those all go to the 1 triple S hero that you're focused on. I know we want all of them all at the same time, but you've got to pick one and invest deeply in them, and they'll create a lot of value for you. So then these 6 heroes, evolve them as soon as you can. If ever an evolution is available for them, you take it. Also, these are the people that are top on the list for every other type of investment. Soul potions, runes, dibs on the best equipment, all that sort of stuff. Everyone else gets hand-me-downs. These ones get the good stuff. Then my rules for everyone else. First, I will keep 1 of everything, so I won't eat my last copy of any particular elite. And then any food-based evolution, I only allow myself to do if I already have, in addition to the food that they're going to be eating, I have 2 Epic 0 food in that faction. So that means if I get another dupe of one of the heroes that's on my list, I can do that evolution plus the next food-based evolution immediately with that amount of food in the bank. If I've got that much food backlogged, then I can do a food evolution of anyone else. So that's my rule. So I both am consuming the food that I get, but making sure that I'm really properly prioritizing the 6 that are the most important to me. Dupe-based evolutions, I let myself do anytime those are available. So if I have the dupe, and if I have a hero that's ready for it, go ahead, feed it, make that evolution. That said, if I need food and I have a dupe of something, but that hero is not ready for a dupe-based evolution, that elite becomes food. At some point, you need to be eating even your elite level heroes because you're just going to get more of those than what you need for the number of heroes that you're going to be investing in. Ultimately, if they're not triple S, they're not that rare. You'll find more of them eventually. You'll be able to get one of those up to Immortal if you need to. Now, all of that pretty much changes at Immortal. This is a strategy for getting your first set of 6 to Immortal 0, which is a nice early game milestone that's really big for your account. But what changes at Immortal? So the evolution chart completely changes once you hit Immortal. So every level beyond Immortal 0, there's no more food, but you need 2 dupes at every level. So getting Immortal 0 to Immortal 5, all it takes is 10 more dupes of the same hero. So that throws off this whole ratio. The 25 to 1 and the 17 food to 7 dupes becomes 17 food to 17 dupes. So it's a very different ratio, and it really changes the number of heroes that you can invest in at any given time. The other thing that I think I've noticed, although I need to do a little more research on the numbers here, it seems to me that the stat progression beyond Immortal 0 is significantly less than the stat progression that you get at the lower levels. And so I would generally say progression beyond Immortal 0 is also less valuable than progression to Immortal 0. At Immortal 0, you've unlocked their exclusive, you've unlocked the highest level of their talents. All the important stuff is unlocked at that point. You can squeeze a little more base stats out of them, but that's something that can wait kind of until the end game. It's more of a later game goal to get to Immortal 5, whereas Immortal 0 has a lot of short-term value to you. So here's my strategy once heroes start to hit Immortal. So once someone hits Immortal 0, they are off the list of 6. They graduate into my Immortal pool where the rules are different. I immediately replace them with another one from the same faction because, again, I have to keep the list of 6 balanced across factions. So I pick Another elite that's on the list that I'm interested in developing. My wish list, I keep focused at that list of 6. I want to be creating a lot of Immortal Zeros. Maybe when I get to the point where I've got 15 or more, I can field the full 3 arena teams for Galactic Arena. Maybe that'll be enough that I change strategies again. Then, once again, if you can choose heroes, now you can choose from either that list of 6 or from things that are on your Immortal list. And then obviously dupes of Immortals, those are not food. My rules on eating elites does not count for things that are already immortal. I want to stockpile those dupes as much as I can so that I can eventually progress to Immortal 5. The last thing I want to talk about is what's my strategy for participating in limited recruitment. So a lot of these hero collector games, again, one of the useful long-term strategies is self-control. Being careful about which events you use your cards in, because choosing the right time to use them can really benefit your account significantly. So the nice thing about limited recruitment is that fact that you can pick up a lot of dupes. So although your immediate focus might be on the Triple S champion, which is not a bad idea because they're obviously going to be pretty powerful, if the side elites are interesting to you as well, that makes the limited recruitment very valuable. If you want 2 out of the 3, then you could put a lot of tickets into that and not be unhappy with what you get. That really helps you catch up on the dupes that you need to progress those. I'll also note the first 60 pulls in general are the most valuable because you get a guaranteed Triple S when you get to that point. I will note, if you saw my other video, there might be a bug in that. I'm guessing it's unintentional and that they will fix it. But the guaranteed Triple S in the first 60 pulls, that's by far a better milestone than the milestone awards that you get beyond that first 60. So frankly, at this point in the game, pretty early, I am pulling 60 in just about every limited recruitment event that comes up. I'm picking up the cards at a quick enough pace that I can afford to do 60 in each event. I don't do more than 60. And I don't participate if I can't do at least 60, because getting to that guaranteed Triple S is a milestone that's very worth hitting. My thought is, long-term, targeting the right events is going to be really valuable. Early in the game, if I was sitting on 500 limited cards, I'm really limiting and constraining my account. If you save them for too long, at that point, you're missing out on the opportunity to grow your account. Obviously, with the chips, I save them for the gene hybrids only. So unless you are really swimming in the chips beyond being able to buy the gene hybrids every time they reset in the store, don't spend it on any of the side Triple S's. Maybe think about it if there's a Triple S that's really valuable to you that you just need your first one of. But in general, those chips are for Triple S dupes. They're for gene hybrids. That's the best way to advance your Triple S champions by far. So that's it. That's my early game strategy for evolving an initial set of 6 up to Immortal 0 and hitting that big milestone on your account. I'll do another video later if it turns out that 2 months down the line I'm sitting on too many Immortal Zeros and I need to change strategies. But I think that's an early game strategy that's going to serve you really well in this game. That's it for today. JG out.